On today's episode of Time About the Movies, yes, we have an intro because we have more than 2 films this week. Memorial Day weekend has arrived. We've got 4 big movies. 3 of them are sequels, but only 2 of them are actually good. Fast and Furious is back with the 6th installment of their series. We have the end of the Hangover trilogy that never should have been a trilogy, Hangover Part 3. We have Blue Sky Studios trying to rip off not just Disney, but also Fern Gully, another Fox animated movie with Epic. And we have Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy reuniting once again for Before Midnight. So let's take a look at these films today, May 24, 2013. This is Time About the Movies.
Let's go for a little ride. I'll make it simple for you. Show me how you drive, I'll show you who you are. We've graduated to a whole new level. Rated PG-13, starts May 24th.
Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 4 films that make up May 24, 2013. And we're starting off with the biggest new release of the weekend. That is, of course, Fast and Furious 6. This is, of course, the film that follows Fast 5. And since Dom and Brian's Rio heist topped the Kingpin's empire and left their crew with $100 million, our heroes have scattered across the globe. But their inability to return home and living forever on the lam have left their lives incomplete. Meanwhile, Hobbs, once again played by Dwayne Johnson, has been tracking an organization of lethally skilled mercenary drivers across 12 countries, whose mastermind, Luke Evans, is aided by a ruthless second-in-command revealed to be the love Don thought was dead, Letty, played by Michelle Rodriguez. Yeah, this is where some of the stupidity comes into play here, because everyone thought Letty was dead after Fast and Furious, and then turns out, nope, she's still alive, and it's been prepared for this, because this is going to be the trend for the next several movies. People you think are dead, they're not really dead. It's just a soap opera for guys, pretty much, with this series. But the only way to stop this criminal outfit is to outmatch them at street level. So Hobbs asks Dom to assemble his elite team in London. Payment, full pardons for all of them so they can return home and make their families whole again. Families whole again. And by the way, here's another thing that we're going to be seeing in these Fast and Furious movies. The villain from the last movie all of a sudden starts working for the bad guys. I mean, it happens in this movie, and then when Jason Statham comes into the picture, turns out he works with the heroes in the next film. But despite all this, this Fast and Furious movie was pretty fun. I mean, I like what they've done since Fast and Furious in 2009. Fast 5 was great. This one was just a ton of fun overall. It's a fun summer blockbuster type movie. We can let the stupidity slide for this one because, yeah, this one knows exactly what it's doing. This isn't doing what Iron Man 3 or Star Trek Into Darkness did, just starting off strong and then just completely falling apart at the end on a really sour note. This movie is fun all across the board. I mean, after a slow start to the summer, this is the type of movie you want the summer to start off with. You got the cast once again working off each other very well. Of course, this is the last time we see Paul Walker and Vin Diesel when Paul Walker is alive, because of course he would die later on in the year. And yeah, it's just fun watching them work off each other here. The action sequences are a lot of fun to watch. The final climax with the cars taking down this gigantic airplane. I mean, good lord. When you see this airplane, it's so huge. You have to think that you would think it's AI or something like that, because there's no way that could be real in real life, but apparently it is. But yeah, you never would be able to thought they would top the bank vault sequence from the last movie, but lo and behold, they might have just done that. And yeah, even the bit where they're driving the tank across the freeway, I love that scene, but I couldn't help but wonder, 30 people probably died during that whole thing. And I don't know, usually during chases in movies, you don't think about that, but that's one of those ones where it's just like, I'm watching it, I'm loving it, but I'm thinking to myself, man, how many people are dead because of this? Because you literally see this thing hitting cars and people on the street, just like, there's no way there isn't a huge death count on this, but there is some problems with the film as well. One of my biggest cliches that I absolutely fucking hate, and I still hate, the double crosser. We have a character who was not given any indication that she's a double crosser and working for the bad guy, but then all of a sudden, sure enough, oh, she's working for this person's working for the bad guy. And it's just like, there's never any indication that they were working with them at all. It's a completely useless plot device. I'm so sick and tired of it. It's been like this ever since, X-Men for a long time, but I've noticed it starting more recently with X-Men First Class. There's this scene where, Zoe Kravitz's character suddenly decides to join the bad guys for no particular reason. I hate that, because if you're going to be a double crosser, make it more convincing and don't give us this BS where you just pull out of your ass the last minute. I mean, one of the best examples of this is when you see Kingdom of the Crystal Skull with Ray Winstone, I think. Yeah, Ray Winstone. Like, he's always like, I'm working for you, Indy. No, I'm working for the bad guy. No, I'm working for you again, Indy. Now I'm working for the bad guy. And Indiana Jones is just like, you're working. Is you're double crossing us again? It's like, no, I just lied to you the last time around so I can get me closer to what we need to get to. It's just like, they at least knew how to use that cliche to make it funny and clever, and it actually does work. And that's one of the things I really like about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, among other things. But also, I kind of had a problem with the film kind of ending on a teaser for the next movie. I mean, as I mentioned, Jason Statham is the villain in the next movie, but we get this great moment where we think the movie's going to come to an end, it's ending on a positive note, but then all of a sudden, Han's going to Tokyo and then gets killed by Jason Statham, the villain, setting it up for the next movie, and it's just kind of like, I mean, my problem is that there's hardly any time to breathe between the last scene of the movie and the stinger in the credits. Like, it just cuts to the next scene. It's just kind of like, a tonal shift that just makes no sense whatsoever. And I know we're in the summer of darker installments in series, but this is kind of getting ridiculous for its own good. But nevertheless, in a month that has included such lackluster films like Iron Man 3 and Star Trek Into Darkness, Fast and Furious 6 definitely is the bright spot of this really lackluster month of movies. I mean, this is a really fun movie that delivers everything it promises and then some. There's a lot of things I like about it than bad stuff. It's got flaws. It's over the top for its own. It's a little too much for its own good, but it's still so much fun overall. It's a perfect summer blockbuster escapism film that doesn't stop, and you get hooked onto the ride until the very end. It's a great movie, man. I love the hell out of it, and it only gets better from there with Furious 7. And Furious 7 really is where they should have ended it, but of course they didn't do that. So we'll touch on that in about 2 years' time. But Fast and Furious 6, good film. Really, really good film. And now we have come to a sequel I've talked about in great length, a movie that if you want to talk about one of the most pointless trilogies of all time, look no further than the next sequel that we had that came out this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, Hangover Part 3.
My God, he's got the voice of an angel. It's breathtaking. You ready to do this? Yeah. Wait, what are we doing? Are you out of your mind? This is the worst place on earth. I know, right? So many good memories. I bought a giraffe! Oh, my life is great!
Rated R. Starts May 24th.
It's not a good sign if the best stuff they're showing you is in the trailer. The giraffe scene is the best scene in the movie. Alan singing Ave Maria. That's good. Everything else, piece of shit. In the aftermath of the death of Alan's father, the Wolfpack, Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, Justin Bartha, decide to take Alan to get treated for his mental issues. But things start to go wrong on the way to the hospital when the Wolfpack is assaulted and Doug is kidnapped, and now they must kidnap Mr. Chow again in order to surrender him to the gangster who kidnapped Doug in order to save him. So, we're already ripping off the first movie again. I'm just not going to get right to the point of this. I hated this movie. I hated it when it came out. I tried to give it a chance years later. It has not changed. I fucking loathe this movie. This is one of the worst sequels, if not the worst sequel I have ever seen in my entire fucking life. It is that awful. This movie is so horrible. It completely takes everything you love about The Hangover and just throw it away and keeps the horrible things I hated about The Hangover and manages to make it an even worse movie-going experience. This is one of the most horrible movie-going experiences I ever had in my entire life. Where do you start? Well, yeah, don't let those trailers fool you. This isn't the light-hearted, goofy hangover films like the last two films. No, they take this pointless, dark, edge to this that had no reason to be there. There's no reason for a Hangover movie to be this dark. I mean, the first two movies had dark humor in them, but the scripts were smart enough to not let the dark humor take up the entire film. But here, they just go dark for no reason whatsoever. And I love a dark comedy. War of the Roses is one of the great dark comedies you'll ever see, but if you're gonna go all on a dark comedy, let people know and don't gloss over it in the trailers and then just bring them in there for this incredibly bizarre tonal shift that happens. The story makes no sense at all. Why does Doug need to be kidnapped again? There's no reason why we have to turn to Black Doug. They turned Black Doug, Mike Epps from the first movie, into a bad guy for no reason. There's no reason why the characters for the first movie have to return. There was no thought process when this movie was made. Part 2 at least was trying to be a movie that was at least worthy of existence, even though it was a here we go again sequel. Like, this is the movie that you look at and you realize they made this because Warner Brothers wanted a sequel. That's what they wanted. They wanted the money. They don't care if the trilogy, if the movie's actually good. We need that trilogy money. And I really believe there was no intention to make this a franchise and spawn 2 mid-range sequels. I mean, the second movie was a copy and paste version of the first film. That's enough to back the point right there. But to do a third movie that tries to make you forget about the previous films and what they established, this makes my theory more than just a theory. It's concrete evidence. They had no intentions on making this a franchise. They should have just made it the first movie and be done with it. Think about it. Why didn't we not get any sequels to Wedding Crashers, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Old School, Knocked Up, Forgetting Sarah Marshall? Why are they so great? Because they never had sequels. Yeah, Knocked Up and Forgetting Sarah Marshall had semi-sequels, but I don't count those because those aren't really official sequels. Most of these movies are on the level of the first Hangover movie, and they know that a sequel would probably do nothing but make us forget about these movies. So why can't The Hangover just follow in those footsteps, I should say? I'm sick and tired of Zach Galifianakis' character Alan in this. I'm sorry. Zach Galifianakis can be funny, but I'm sorry. This character is one of the worst characters I have ever seen in my entire life because his progression from the first movie to the second movie to the third movie keeps getting worse and worse and worse with every passing film. And this film definitely is the bottom of the barrel. I went from liking this character in the first movie to hating him because he's so stupid. He's so childish. He's just a dick. And he does not get any better as these movies go on. He keeps getting worse. One of the worst things about The Hangover Part 2 was that Alan revealed he drugged everybody because Teddy's not part of our wolf pack. It's just like at that point, this character became detestable to me because in one scene, it proved to me that this character is nothing more but a selfish idiot. And in Part 3, they get in trouble because, guess what? Alan's the one who's responsible for this because Alan keeps hanging out with Mr. Chow, and that's why they're in the situation they're in. Any sane person would have taken Alan in the back behind the woodshed and killed him off of mice and men style, like what Lenny did to, what's his name? I can't remember his name. I got the names mixed up. What George did to Lenny, like they should have just taken Alan back behind the woodshed and just shoot him in the back of the head. That's how much I hate this guy so much. But no, we can't do that because they got to continue this mission because he's the fat, goofy, funny guy, and it's like it's not a big deal at all. The comedy here is so terrible. The biggest cock tease of this movie, and what could have saved the movie for a little bit, is that giraffe in the car scene. Now, like I said, that's the funniest scene in the trailer, and they don't show you the climax of that because it's a trailer for the movie. You got to see it's a trailer for the movie. They want you to see the movie to see the joke and pay off. They had the potential to have that be the best scene in the movie, and it happens way early in the film. And let me tell you something. You know how that joke plays in the trailer? That's how it plays in the movie. Yeah, you don't see the payoff at all. And that made me so mad as hell. I almost walked out because I didn't get that payoff. And look, I get it. Visual effects have come a long way, but don't tell me with a budget of $103 million this movie. They spent $103 million on this one movie. For what? What did they use this on? Like, where did all that money go? You can't make a special effect where we see the giraffe's head come off. There's no money shot. There's no blood. There's no payoff whatsoever. And the whole scene is shot horribly. And to make matters worse, you got Hansen's Mbop playing in the background. It's just like, and again, before you call me cruel, I'm 100% against animal abuse, but come on. You have an R-rated comedy to hype the scene up and to not give us that payoff. That is a big fuck you to the filmmakers themselves who knew that you coughed up $12 to see the movie and you didn't get exactly what you wanted from it. They waste John Goodman, too. John Goodman's a great actor, but I'm sorry. Him as the main villain in here, he's completely wasted. He serves no purpose to the plot whatsoever. He's in 3 scenes of this movie. He's supposed to be the main bad guy. And they just waste so many... These movies waste so many talented people in here and make them completely pointless characters. Even in the second movie. Remember, they were supposed to have a scene with Liam Neeson that was eventually going to be replaced by Bill Clinton and then replaced by Nick Cassavetes. Why? Because they're recognizable names. Who cares what if we have a character to build around them? Fuck you. That's what the movie's basically telling you, is fuck you. And it's amazing. The one thing that made this movie somewhat redeemable was, of all things, Melissa McCarthy. You know, after watching her being the ultimate bitch in Identity Thief, being basically the equivalent of Zach Galifianakis in the Hangover movies, she was providing the only funny moments in the film. Like, it's finally good to see somebody using her talents to good use, and she provided the funniest moments of the film. Granted, it's 5 minutes, but at this point, I'll take anything at this point. This is a new low for sequels. The Hangover Part 3 took what made the first 2 movies good and just rapes it and gives it one of the most unpleasant film-going experiences I've had in a long, long time. This is, without a doubt, one of the worst movies I've seen all year. It's worse than Little Fockers. It's worse than Big Mama's Like Father, Like Son. That's the bar we're at, people. You have to suck really hard to top Big Mama's Like Father, Like Son and horribleness. That's how bad this movie is. Avoid The Hangover Part 3 like the plague, and I swear to God, if somebody out there tries to make a Hangover 4, I may just lose my faith in Hollywood, because we're getting a Rush Hour 4 because of our president, so, yeah. Because clearly the demand was there for Rush Hour 4, apparently, from anybody that's not outside the White House, but... yeah, that's a whole other thing altogether, but you get the idea. Hangover Part 3 sucks. It's one of the worst movies of the year, one of the worst comedies I've ever seen, one of the worst sequels of all time. I think you get the point. So, yeah, let's go ahead and try to turn this around, and we won't do it with this next one, I know for sure. Let's take a look at Blue Sky Studios' latest film, Epic.
On May 24th,
you know how important today is.
Are you ready for this?
expect something epic.
That's the show.
That's the spirit. Whoa.
We're outnumbered, out of time, and the fate of the world is at stake. Awesome.
Epic. Rated PG. May 24th.
Yeah, there ain't anything epic about this movie at all. In fact, it's not a good sign if your trailer is literally showing the way the bad guy dies in this. I mean, you literally see how Christoph Waltz's character dies in this movie. So yeah, that is not a good sign for this film going forward. But this is Epic, which I did not know was based off of a William Joyce story. But, of course, William Joyce was also the same man that gave us Roly Poly. But more importantly, more recently, he gave us Rise of the Guardians, which is a far superior movie than this pile of garbage is. So in this movie, you have young Mary Catherine Gallagher. No, not really Mary Catherine Gallagher. Now, that would have been interesting if the character from Saturday Night Live was the lead in this. But no, this is young Mary Catherine, played by Amanda Seyfried, who returns to her eccentric scientist father's home, but his all-consuming quest to discover a tiny civilization in the neighboring forest drives them apart. However, MK Sue finds herself shrunken down by Queen Tara, played by Beyonce Knowles of the Forest, mortally wounded by the putrefying Buggins, and charged to deliver a pod bearing the new queen to safety, together with a veteran Leafman warrior played by Colin Farrell, 2 goofy mollusks played by Aziz Ansari and Chris O'Dowd, and a young maverick played by Josh Hutcherson. MK agrees to help as the villainous Boggin leader, Mandrake, played by Christoph Waltz, closes in. MK and her new friends must draw on the best of themselves together and discovers what they have to save the world. And yeah, this was a movie that is, as I said before, it's Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest. It's Once Upon a Forest. It's Avatar. All Fox movies like this is, and seriously, Fox, what was your obsession with forest protection movies? I think Avatar was the final nail in the coffin, but lo and behold, we have this right here. Like, I mean, is the movie worth watching? And it really is not. It's a boring film, and it doesn't work because the story. We have seen this story done to death before, and it's nothing new, there's nothing new about this whatsoever. So what's the purpose of doing the same movie as Fern Gully and Avatar and Once Upon a Forest and not doing anything unique or different with it at all? The only way this thing could work is that this will lead to the things I like about the movie, is that they can create this visually beautiful universe that the book carries, and that's one of the strongest points of the movie, is the visuals. They look amazing. They actually look cool with the 3D, and it's up there with Rio with some of their best work overall. But again, visuals don't make the movie. Like I said, I've always said, but I thought the voice cast overall was kind of good. I mean, they do feel like they were kind of forced in there because of their status, like the additions of Steven Tyler as the Keeper of the Magic Scrolls, Pitbull as a hitman. Like even though I thought actually he was one of the things that actually was really one of the stronger parts of it, but like Steven Tyler as Nim Galoo does not really fit that character he plays. Chris O'Donnell is, I'm sorry, they provide some good comic relief moments. Beyonce Knowles, not bad as the Queen. I mean, it's great to see to finally get a kiss movie that doesn't portray a Queen as the main villain. And the rest of the cast is okay. Amanda Seyfried's alright. Colin Farrell, Josh Hutcherson, they're okay. Christoph Waltz, although I'm getting sick and tired of him playing the villain in every single movie, I thought Jason Sudeikis was pretty good. One of the more memorable characters in the movie was, of all things, MK's three-legged dog in this movie. Like, I don't know why, but he doesn't speak, but just everything he does in this movie made me laugh. It's a silly character, but it's one of the more memorable parts of the film. I think mostly because it's a three-legged dog. I mean, that's probably the one thing I took away from it, but other complaints I have with it, the music was kind of bland. This is Danny Elfman doing this, and Danny Elfman doesn't usually do bland music like this, but my god, this felt the most generic and uninspired I've ever seen from Danny Elfman. This feels like he was coasting along here. And I also don't like that it goes back to, oh, the mother is dead again, because how many times have we had a movie like this where the mother is dead? The only difference is we only have one movie in recent years that has been the complete opposite, where it's the mother who's alive, but the dad is dead, and that's The Princess and the Frog. And that was a much better movie than this, but I guess I could say for this movie, it's not terrible, but for a movie that's called epic, there ain't nothing epic about it, man. I mean, it's at least a better movie from Blue Sky than the last Ice Age movie was, and that was terrible. There was at least a couple things I kind of enjoyed about it, but again, it's not one of their better movies overall, and it definitely was part of a streak of lackluster films in general from them. I mean, we haven't even gotten back to when they went the sequel route again with their next movie, Rio 2, which took a beautiful, fun movie of the first film and just took it down a lackluster pathway. We'll touch on that in April 2014, but as far as this film goes, it's okay, but it's not great either. It's a movie that is instantly forgotten. In fact, I rarely have ever watched it again since it came out 12 years ago. So that should probably tell you something right there. So that is epic. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here. Probably the overall best movie of the entire week, easily. And it's a sequel of all things. It's Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy in the third installment of the Before trilogy, Before Midnight.
It's the last time.
We had nowhere we had to be.
Yeah. If we were meeting for the first time today on a train, would you ask me to get off the train with you?
Of course.
It's not the love of one other person that matters, it's the love of life.
Why am I finding myself so attracted to this woman?
Kind of an abrupt end to that trailer. I think that was a fan trailer, even though it was technically on a Sony Pictures UK page, so I don't know what was going on there, but this is Before Midnight, the third installment of the Before Sunrise trilogy that began 18 years ago with Before Sunrise, and then 9 years ago, and then 9 years after that we had Before Sunset, and now 9 years after that we have this one here. And in this one, you have, once again, Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy's character of Jesse and Celine spending a summer vacation together in Greece. And, these movies keep getting better and better as the films go along. And I've touched on these movies before with Before Sunrise and Before Sunset. What I like about these movies is that they're very much dialogue-heavy movies, which could usually backfire, but because Richard Linklater is such a good director, and you just love seeing these two characters, Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, together again, it just works very well. These movies are kind of very similar to something like My Dinner with Andre. It's a movie where you don't think two people just talking throughout the course of the movie is going to be intriguing or not, but the conversations they have are very fascinating. You do really believe that these two know what they're doing, and they know that they want to hear more about what the other person has to say about another. And again, it works very well here. They both work off each other very well here, and that's the key to these movies, to make such an entertaining, enjoyable romantic dramedy trilogy that is their chemistry and their relationship, which seems very realistic, very authentic, and feels like what a real-life couple would talk about in real life. Like, we've had a lot of great romantic couples in the last couple of years. Pat and Tiffany in Silver Linings Playbook, Gil and Adriana in Midnight in Paris, and these two, these two are just so great to watch, them just talking and doing stuff, and it really just keeps you invested in these two characters all throughout the course of their film overall. Like, you know, in terms of picking the best overall film in these, it's tough to say, because I do think each one gets better and better as we go along. This one's probably my favorite one, because we're now seeing the two leads as part of a family. They've got kids. Now we see them deal with family issues, you know. Like how the first two films managed to not resort to the stupid cliches and rom-coms. This one manages to provide us with a realistic look at how a couple struggles to maintain staying happy after all these years, now with these kids in their lives. And I like the fact that the film doesn't steer away from the simple happy ending. It does a little bit, but it feels genuine. It doesn't feel fake. It feels real. It feels authentic. And that's the great thing about what Richard Linklater does with these movies, because you can tell he knows what he's doing. He's not going to make a movie like this so it could just be another typical rom-com sequel. He's going to put as much effort into it as you expect him to do, and the result is always going to pay off, and it does work with these films overall. This is a really great trilogy of films. Each one gets better and better as they go along. These are great films. I can't recommend these films enough. If you have not seen the Before trilogy, see these films. See Before Sunrise, see Before Sunset, see Before Midnight. These are three classic films. One of Richard Linklater is some of the best films Richard Linklater has ever done, period. I can't recommend it enough. Before Midnight, definitely check this one out. Okay, finally, we actually have a really good week of movies. So, for the most part, we had some good movies. We at least had some good films overall. And next week should be better. No, it isn't. To wrap up May next time around, we have two movies that I'm not too keen on. We have the film series you thought The Hangover was a bad trilogy overall? Try a trilogy that has no good movies in it whatsoever. Now You See Me, with Jesse Eisenberg, Isla Fisher, and Woody Harrelson, Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine. We have the first film that started that off. We'll take a look at that. We'll also take a look at M. Night Shyamalan's pairing with Will Smith and his son, Jaden Smith, After Earth. So, yeah, we got those two movies, and yeah, this is going to be a rocky end to the month of May. And like I said, May was a bad month overall, but hey, at least we had two good sequels, Fast and Furious 6, Before Midnight, and hopefully the summer will get better from there. We hope, but we will see what happens when we meet next time around. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care. Oh, and by the way, since this is being recorded the day before Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.